Good evening and welcome to the Alachua County School Board meeting for September 17th, 2019. Please stand and join the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to recognize our fine arts specialist, Diana Rollo.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, Superintendent Clark, and district administrators. This evening, we are joined by Sarah Weitz, junior trumpet player from Newberry High School, and her band director, James DeRamere. Under the direction of Mr. DeRamere, the Newberry High School Band has enjoyed recent success in marching and concert band, as well as a number of individual student accomplishments. The marching band competed in its first Bands of America regional competition last year and earned first place in Division 1A. They will return and compete again this October. The concert band received straight superior ratings at the Florida Bandmasters Association Music Performance Assessment last spring for the first time in almost 20 years. Individual student accomplishments include 9 superiors at District Solo and Ensemble MPA, 4 of which advanced to the state level, 1 student nomination to the All-State Honor Band, 5 students participating in All-County Honor Band, and 2 students selected for the FSU Tri-State Honor Band. I'd like to invite board members and administrators to come down so you can hear this lovely performance. This evening, Sarah Weitz will perform 3 short excerpts for us: Street Scene, Promenade, and Prayer of St. Gregory. Please join me in welcoming Mr. DeRamere and trumpet player Sarah Weitz.
Is it?
So, I think it's Sarah.
Mr. Hyatt, I just wanted to make a remark.
Dr. McNeely needs to make a remark.
I need to make a remark because I'm so sorry that Sarah moved out. She was very, very impressive. I wanted to say that with the band director, as well as the principal and assistant principal. Most of you don't know, but I was in the band many years ago with the Jones High School Tigers. And when I heard Mrs. Rollo naming the different rankings of Superior and all, everything, I thought, oh my, it was so hard to get those kind of rankings back in my day. And so I wanted to tell that student how much we appreciate her, as well as all of the kids, not kids, all of the students who participate in all of the bands in Alachua County. It makes us look really good.
Well, and I'll say, I'm going to contradict Dr. McNeely just a little bit because she is downplaying her band experience because she was under the great James Chief Wilson at Jones High School in Orlando, Hall of Fame band director, and former president of Florida Bandmasters Association. So she wasn't really in too bad shape there. What a great thrill to hear that. And so we hear a wonderful trumpet player, and we look around and see the great art in this room, and see that it is indeed important for all of our students in Alachua County to have access to the arts, and that was a wonderful example. Before we move ahead, I did have just a quick reminder to everyone joining us this evening. Welcome, and we're glad you're here. If you wish to address the board, we ask that you fill out a public comment form, which we have available in the back of the room. I'll call on individuals in the order that I received the sheets. If we are not able to get your comments in the initial 15 minutes of public comment, we will have a second period near the end of the evening. If you wish to address the board on an item on the agenda, then please also fill out a comment form, indicate that, and at that time you would come up when that item is being considered. Also, remember you have 3 minutes, and please focus on issues and avoid personal attacks. Thank you. We have, it's now time for the adoption of the agenda, and there are just a couple of changes here, so I don't know that, so board members and public will listen to see what's happening. Is that item D, the recognition, is going to be postponed. That will be the University Athletic Association, and that is postponed until the next board meeting. And then if you look at action item 3, if after Howard Bishop Middle School, should say school, we're going to add and elementary I. So that would be, it would read as the planning for the construction projects at Metcalf Elementary, Idlewild Elementary, Howard Bishop Middle, and elementary I schools, elementary schools. Okay. So with that change, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Roy. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, approval of the minutes for the August 20th, 2019 school board meeting.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Surden, seconded by Ms. Roy. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we have a presentation, and I'd like to call on our Director of Energy Systems, Teresa Sperling-Wood.
Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Hyatt, members of the board, and Superintendent Clark. I would like to introduce Joe Davis, Executive Director of the Florida Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs, on behalf of the Florida Partnership for Healthy Schools, to do the presentation. He knows firsthand what it takes to earn this recognition, as he has been a teacher, worked with the Florida Department of Education, Florida Kid Care, Florida After School Network, and Florida Healthy Kids. Joe Davis.
Mr. Chair, Superintendent, board members, it is an absolute pleasure to be here today. This is maybe my 20th, 23rd or 4th presentation of this kind in working with the Florida Partnership for Healthy Schools. So it's always fun to come to a school board meeting and see how they differ from meeting to meeting. They're all very interesting and a great experience. So again, Joe Davis, Florida Alliance of Boys and Girls Clubs, and here today representing the Florida Partnership for Healthy Schools. And I'll start by saying I'm really excited to see that you have a framed gold level Healthy School District flag on the wall over here. So that's gonna be the theme of the next few minutes. Because I am here today to congratulate the school district for being recognized, Alachua County Public Schools being recognized once again as a gold level healthy school district. And you should give yourselves a hand for that. So the Florida Partnership for Healthy Schools is really made up of a bunch of interested parties. You can see them on the flag over there: the Florida Association of District School Superintendents, Florida Action for Healthy Kids, Florida Healthy Kids Corporation, which spends a lot of time promoting Florida Kid Care. I hope all of the board members here know about Florida Kid Care and the value of that in terms of health and wellness. And the partnership is really a grassroots organization that is not only made up of those organizations, but made up of groups, youth advocacy groups like the Boys and Girls Clubs or the YMCAs, the American Cancer Association and the Heart Association. A lot of pediatric groups are part of this network. And essentially, the partnership stands really to do two things in the state of Florida. And one is to inform advocacy for school health issues, and two, to recognize excellence at the school district level. And you should be proud of yourselves, because Alachua County is definitely a school district worthy of the recognition that you're having today. There's a lot of hard work that goes into becoming a gold level healthy district. And so one of the ways that the partnership advocates for health and wellness is to promote rich data information about health and wellness in the state. And so by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the Florida Youth Risk Behavior Survey? And I see most everybody nodding. That is an example of the kind of data that's available to tell us about our young people in the state of Florida. And so over the last few years, we've seen some trends in the right direction, in a good direction, in terms of what our youth are saying that they're doing in terms of risky behaviors, where it's getting better. Examples of that are that the percentage of youth in the state of Florida who report having driven with a driver who has been drinking has decreased dramatically in the state. And so our kids are making better choices and not riding in a car with people that have been drinking. Sexual dating violence is reported as being decreased in the state of Florida. Students who are currently sexually active, we're seeing a decrease in that data as well. Alcohol use in the state of Florida is also on the decline. Now, unfortunately, marijuana numbers have stayed about the same, but we're happy to be able to see and hear that students are reporting less instances of alcohol use. And another thing from a health and wellness standpoint is just soda consumption is on the decline as well. So our kids are drinking less soft drinks. Now, unfortunately, one of the key areas that I'm sure has been spoken about here is youth vaping. Youth vaping is an epidemic right now in the state of Florida and nationally, and we know that a lot of measures are being taken at a school district level, because each and every day we're learning more and more about the harmful effects of youth vaping, and particularly on young bodies and what vaping does. And so, we certainly appreciate school districts being wary of that and implementing policies to make sure we educate our kids about why they should not be doing that. The other thing I wanted to mention today, that on a even a more somber note, is the fact that this past risk survey showed that we're seeing an alarming number of students who have seriously thought about attempting suicide, who have made a plan to attempt suicide, or actually tried to commit suicide. And so this is something that this is important information for our school districts to be able to be aware of, take action for, and make sure that you have policies in place that are addressing these things. I know that all of you will agree that mental health services, health education, and social and emotional development programs are an important part of what a school district has to offer. One of the last key bits of data from this last risk survey is that students themselves, at 88%, said that they want schools to be able to help them address the problems such as substance abuse, violence, HIV and AIDS, teen pregnancy, and suicide. And so this is an important, health and wellness is such an important part of what a school district can provide, not only to our students, but also to your staff. Your teachers, your school staff, and your administrators, they have to be in the same frame of mind to be able to educate our children and to educate the students in our schools. So here today to talk about the gold level status that Alachua County Schools has once again achieved. And it really is that we see the evidence that the district is striving to make a difference in the child and in all the children's lives that are in this district. So one of the key things that it points to by you having another gold level status is the fact that you have really good district infrastructure. That district infrastructure was recognized on your self-assessment survey at a 92% rate. That's at the top of the heap compared to other school districts. Basically, you guys are doing a great job, and you have really good staff. You have a really good team in place. And so what I'd like to do is ask Teresa Sperling-Wood to come back up for a second and introduce some of these key staff people that are making sure that this district is doing wonderful things with health and wellness. Teresa?
Hi. I would say it's everybody in the room, but I'd like to recognize Maria Eunice. Come on up. Maria? Courtney? Jenny Wise? It's just everybody. I mean, I don't even know where to start and stop, because everybody's involved in this. HR, Mr. Purvis, Mr. White with the schools. I mean, everybody is in the group effort. Curriculum. There's so many people involved in us achieving this, so I would just say everybody give yourselves a round of applause, because that's what happened.
So I'll share a little bit more about some of the details of your gold level status. Basically, Alachua County Schools rated nearly perfect scores on the self-assessment, which is not an easy undertaking, as this group behind me can assure you. It's a very labor-intensive process that has a lot of different departments and individuals that are a part of this. So again, nearly perfect scores in health education, PE, health and nutrition services, and healthy school environments. And so that's awesome. Some areas, because there's always areas of growth. We're all in a continuous improvement cycle, right? So a couple of areas that the district could look to focus on in this upcoming year is on staff wellness. You know, that score wasn't quite as high. You still got a gold, but staff wellness is something to keep in mind, and also counseling, psychological, and social services. So, you know, we all have an opportunity to be able to get better, and those are key areas that you can focus on. And so in closing, I'd just like to say that the Florida Partnership for Healthy Schools, which I'm representing here today along with Boys and Girls Clubs, applauds the district for establishing a positive culture and climate, and for working towards reducing and eliminating barriers to learning. So we all know that a child that feels good is going to be able to learn at higher rates. And so I thank you for that. And I should note that there are 67 school districts in the state of Florida. Only 13 school districts have achieved the gold level status. So you guys are in the upper echelon of school districts with health and wellness in the state. And so to conclude, I would like to ask the board to come back down. I have a new flag for you in a little bit of a different form. And Superintendent, I have a gift for you as well. So we also have the Florida Partnership for Healthy Schools. We like to have wonderful superintendents. We have a brag at our superintendent conference meeting. And so we have a really cool Healthy District polo shirt for you. Wear it with pride. Thank you so much. Appreciate all of the board for all your efforts in supporting health and wellness. All right. Thank you so much.
I was going to say something before you select.
Okay, moving on to board member superintendent announcements. Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Catch my breath, up and down, up and down. I wanted to start off by thanking the superintendent and Mrs. Certain for attending the Alachua County Retired Educators Association on yesterday. They came, they listened, and they brought greetings. So we certainly want to thank both of you for doing that. And we hope you'll come again. Saturday, I had an opportunity to go out to Kanapaha to listen and learn about the Florida PTA and the state report card the district's report card, and all that it entails for us to learn and to understand what's important about our data. It was done by the Alachua County PTA and the state, and I think we had a chancellor there, Chancellor Oliver?
Oliva, yes.
Olivi, see, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But we hope that this session will be done again, possibly on this side of town, in East Gainesville, so that we can get more people to understand about the data, the report card, and all that it entails. So thanks to the acceptor for bringing this to us. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Dr. McNeely. Before we go to the next board member, unless somebody has a really, really quick comment, we have a public hearing, time certain, coming up at 6:30. Somebody have like 1 minute worth of stuff? Or, I guess that's a high bar. So, no board members can do a minute? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll have Dr. Paulson start, and if he needs more than a minute, we'll come back to him.
Well, I'm just going to piggyback onto that about the PTA. I'd like to thank specifically Pam Kartoski, Conleen Banco, and the other members of ACC PTA team for the work they did together for this parent workshop and training at Kanapaham Middle School. Ms. Banco, who was the resolutions chair for the Florida PTA, led a session of new federally mandated school and district report cards, specifically with the Florida K-12 Chancellor, Ms. Jacob Oliva. That's a very important topic these days, as we have already gone over. Saturday, even as it's just one example of the many parent and community workshops and activities the county PTA has been organizing for the past few years, on everything from school safety to mental health to STEM education. I understand they've got at least 3 more events coming before the winter break, and encourage families to get more information about those at accepta.org, accpta.org. I don't know how many people realize that actually we didn't have a county PTA for many years, in fact 10. More than 3 years ago, Ms. Banco spearheaded an effort to establish the group with the help of other committed parents, grandparents, teachers, and administrators. It's been active and growing ever since. And I know we all are very grateful for the work they've done to support all our students and schools. It was also done because the east side of Gainesville didn't have PTAs, and they're reaching out to try to help that part of Gainesville establish their PTAs. The county PTA is something that we should be very proud of. Thank you for our people here tonight, and thank you, Ms. Banco and Ms. Kortowski. Thank you.
Okay,
Is that
thank
pretty
you.
close, wasn't it?
That was good. Thank you, Dr. Paulson. Mr. Moore, for the public hearing, this is simply a chance for any public comment on the announced changes to the amendments to board policy. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We had the first reading in August. We were scheduled to have the public hearing September 3rd, but obviously that meeting got canceled and renoticed for tonight. These are the 5 safety and security policies where the law changed, excuse me, in May, or, well, I think they took effect July 1st, so we're just updating them before our October 15th deadline. The second reading will be at the next board meeting, but it's really just bringing some statutory language into our policies, updating
Okay,
it.
well, we're temporarily adjourned from our regular meeting. Public hearing has started. Do I have any public input specifically on the amendments to board policy? Seeing none, public hearing is done, and we're reconvening our board meeting. So next, Ms. Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. I guess Ms. Burlingwood is no longer here, but I wanted to thank her for putting together the program that we just heard about, the Gold Seal Award for all the things that the district is doing regarding health. Just to read a few things, Mr. Davis did some of them, but He mentioned the school nurses, the award-winning food and nutrition program, the system of care for children and families in a crisis, school-based flu immunizations, health and physical education, and many other programs. I specifically wanted to mention the It Starts With Hello program that is now, it was piloted last year and is now in every school in our county. This is a program that was initiated by the Sandy Hook parents who lost those children in the shooting so many years ago. And they established a foundation to present to all these schools in the country, and millions of students have been trained now to reach out to other students that might be alienated or lonely or new in the school, or, it's an emotional health issue. So I wanted to thank Ms. Burlingwood for putting together the application for this Gold Seal Award, and also suggest that maybe that should be part of the reason that we're selected for Gold Seal next year. I wanted to mention, we had 30 district high school students named National Merit semifinalists this year, and so that's a very prestigious program. Gainesville High School had 13, Eastside had 9, Buchholz had 7, and Santa Fe had 1 student. And all of them are eligible to become National Merit finalists, which comes with very wonderful scholarship money. And all these students, even the semifinalists, are highly sought after. So we're very proud of these students. And also, we had 3 local students named in the semifinals as semifinalists in the 2019 Broadcom Masters Competition, which is a very prestigious STEM competition for middle school students. And so we had 3 freshmen, one from Buchholz, Angela Gao, Eastside High School freshman, Akeisha Verma, and Gainesville High School freshman David Cagle. And all of those students are going to go on to further competition, but they're all wonderful science students. Very proud of those. 30 of the 300 national semifinalists will be selected as finalists later this month. So stay tuned. Maybe one of our students will be one of the 30. Thank you, Mr. Hyatt.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Wanted to take this opportunity to let the board and the public know we had a loss in our transportation family, I guess on September 2nd. Ms. Gwendolyn Morrow, who was a longtime bus driver for us, but had been recently had a battle with cancer, and finally, I like to say won that battle, just won it in a little different way, because you know what that means to me personally. And so just wanted to extend condolences on behalf of the board to the family of Ms. Morrow.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, thank you. 15 minutes are now provided for citizens to address the board prior to the regular business meeting. It is requested that citizens keep their comments to approximately 3 minutes. First is Shanae Baker.
I'm Shanae Baker. I've stood before this board many times. I'm a parent with 1 child at Meadowbrook in Alachua County and another student at Oak Hall. I'm here as it pertains to Principal Carla Hutchison being removed from her post. What I've been doing is research. I've studied the administrative code. I've been told that the superintendent did this by DOE. I sent a public records request to the Department of Education, who was the deer in headlights. I've also sent a public records request here in order to find out exactly what's going on. I'm very frustrated because when we were at Hawthorne just a few years ago, I told Ms. Hutchinson that she would regret actually being in support of this particular district, and here we are today. Many people looked at me like I was crazy because I said it in front of an auditorium full of people. Even with her being demoted and her position taken, the first thing she said was that no one is thinking about the children. We pulled a principal from a school that already is a vulnerable school, and they now have no leadership. The very next day, an autistic child was put on a bus and was lost for 3 hours. I don't understand it because principals at other schools in similar situations actually had lateral moves that were actually considered to be promotions because they got better schools. When I go and look at TOPS, which is the part of the turnaround plan, it says that a principal should be removed unless recommended for retention. Individuals will turn around, they look at the record, degree of success, length of time in service around success, degree of similarity in student population, and any other factors. All of those are Ms. Hutchinson. Since 2011, she has helped to turn Williams from a D school to a B school. As the assistant principal at Rollins, they went from an F to a C. Lake Forest had 5 Fs in a row before Ms. Hutchinson got there. Another frustration is the fact that we don't have enough decency to even go as a district and explain to the parents what are going on. People are in a panic. They don't understand what is going on. And me, I always speak on behalf of parents in East Gainesville, but as you know, I'm a parent in West Gainesville, so I see the market and the stark difference. And there's something that needs to be done about that.
Okay, Telfred Cartwright.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. I'm a parent of 2 children I'm a parent of 3 children, 2 children who currently are enrolled in 2 public schools here in Alachua County. And I stand before you today, or come before you today, to comment on the subject matter, or the subject math. I would like for this board to explore increasing the time that it takes for math teachers to teach math. Math being a very tedious and complex subject. Compared to art, no disrespect to art students and art teachers. I have an oldest son who was a former member of the IB program. The IB program did not challenge him enough mathematically and scientifically. So as we filed for a zoning request, I think that's the name of it, or exemption rather, and we transferred him to View Hope, and then he entered into the that same year, he entered into the dual enrollment program at Santa Fe College. And then he would excel in his classes. Now he's been accepted to the UCF School of Engineering to study mechanical engineering. Then he's going to transfer to MIT. Where I'm going with this is math helps to teach our children how to think critical, efficient as well. It requires more focus compared to art. No disrespect to art students, art teachers. I would like for this board to explore the ideal or the reality in some counties like Palm Beach County, where they're building the Benjamin School STEM Center to assist the public schools as early as the elementary schools to assess and then to identify what schools and the children at those schools will require more attention to help strengthen their math skills or their math foundation. Math is a very, very important subject for our children. What about Waldo Elementary School? Utilizing it as a math and science magnet school or center to assist the math and science teachers to assess and then to identify and to help those teachers, because they don't spend, you know, the amount of time that's spent in teaching math and PE is the same time, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Cartwright, could you finish it up?
So,
We have
so
3 minutes.
I'm asking you, why not increase the time that it takes, like 30 minutes more? It's a very essential subject. The United States industrial sector, mechanical engineers, chemical engineers, they're not artists. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Blunt.
Good evening, Khalid Blount. I am very concerned about the conduct of some of our schools. You heard last year a very thorough report about racial inequities in our school system. And the community thought there were serious moves to address those, or hopes there are serious moves. But I've seen things in some schools that really concern me. What has just happened with Mrs. Hutchinson and her position really echoes a lot of other concerns. I've seen a middle school, Lincoln, hampered by discipline problems, but the real root is inexperienced staffing. And when we have a great professional like Mrs. Hutchinson who proves she's able to turn around schools, and then immediately after turning around the school to instantly trip her up and expect that turnaround to miraculously continue. There's some magical thinking going on, I think. And I think people are unaware that the report last year also revealed that there is some very serious problems with choices of staffing. Most people don't know that the state rates teachers as they know about school grades, but teachers are rated as well. And so many high-rated teachers are not utilized to benefit the struggling schools on the east side. This happens too consistently to be accidental, and I think that a lot more people need to become aware, that perhaps the state board should become aware, and I'm pretty sure they will, maybe even this week. We've seen a lot of games played in this system in the past. For instance, a few years ago, the shuttling of many kids from the east side to west side schools for a couple years to create an artificial overload in the west, while east side classrooms were underutilized and still are, so that monies could be gotten from the state for construction of brand new facilities on the west side, while needed upgrades go year after year after year, lagging on the east side. Gainesville, in Alachua County, more so Gainesville, has this reputation of being this progressive and advanced place. Yet it's one of the 10 most segregated cities its size in the United States. Our school system is continuing to create two separate societies. That's supposed to have ended years ago, but means are found over and over to simulate the same results.
Thank you. Evelyn Fox.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Superintendent and board members. I'm Evelyn Fox, and I'm with the Alachua County branch of the NAACP. I have so much to talk about that's been brought before our organization in the last couple of months, but I would only mention perhaps two, and the next time I'll talk about the others. Everyone has said basically and voiced a sentiment about Mrs. Carla Hutchinson. Now, we did the research, and Mr. Baker just gave you that according to the Florida statute 108.32 and 108.33. you all are saying that there is nothing you can do because because the school has gotten so many Fs. But the statute does not say that. At least we don't understand it that way, but we will address it on Friday morning at the State Education Board meeting in Jacksonville, Florida. We just feel, the community feels, that with the great job she's done in the past, turning schools around, and because this happened, there is nothing that could be done. She's being, in a sense, being demoted. Am I to understand that correctly? Is she being demoted?
This is citizen input, we're not doing a conversation.
Oh, okay, all right. But when I'm talking to you one-on-one after this meeting, I would like to find that out from our
That would be
superintendent.
fine.
Okay. And the other thing is, I've had several of our employees from the transportation to meet with me at my home, at McDonald's, and other places. They're very concerned about an incident that happened that was investigated where an employee alleged a sexual harassment by the person in charge of transportation. After reading all of it, I am totally disappointed of the outcome, and it appears that we have no other choice but to do something about it, the You Too movement. And I don't care who it is, if a person, man or woman, is sexually harassed, they should be moved. This person, you know who I was talking about, Mr. Thomas, you know who's the head of
Well,
transportation.
I think that you've sort of gone over the line now because we're not going to do personal attacks.
Okay, no, I'm not attacking him,
Well,
I'm
when-
just stating the facts.
When you mention a name and use
Okay.
that language, that is not acceptable in this boardroom.
Okay, well, it's public record, and anybody who wants to see it can. And we just think that it was handled wrong. The lady is very devastated. And with the Me Too movement, we have no other choice but to do that with this board and the school board, because I don't care who it is. If a person was sexually harassed and they have witnesses as to what actually happened to this young lady, and then it was just swept under the rug, I
Okay.
think that's not in keeping. And thank you, and I'll be back again. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, how are we with time?
We have a minute and a half.
Well, we'll go ahead, Jackie Davis.
I'll be quick. My name is Jackie Davis, and I'm representing the Racial Justice Task Force of United Church of Gainesville. We, like others who've spoken tonight, are very concerned about the demotion of Ms. Carla Hutchinson. Some of the people at our church are teachers in her class and in her school, and we're devastated by this move. We are wondering why when she had a D school and was in a turnaround status, why she had overcrowded classrooms, inexperienced teachers, and in her, I don't know if it was 4th or 5th grade classes, but one of them had substitute teachers and ended up having 4 teachers that year, and they're the classes that take the test. So it feels like she did an amazing job with no support, sabotage rather than support. So we just feel like this was unfair, and then demoting her rather than a lateral move, which other principals have gotten, is also unfair. And also, we are concerned that she is one of the few African-American principals in our school system, and for this to happen to her, we're very concerned. In general, we're very concerned about the low literacy rate of African-American students. Mr. Blount referred to the study that came out last year, which said 30% of our African-American students, 3rd graders, cannot read up to grade level. If that were 30% of our white students in Gainesville, I think that would be on every agenda of this school board. And I don't know why it isn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, time for the consent agenda. And Superintendent Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recommend that the school board approve the consent agenda as described in items 1 through 12.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Dr. McNeely, seconded by Ms. Roy. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Moving to action item 1. Mr. Purvis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With employee case 2019-20-002110, the superintendent recommends that the school board terminate the employee effective September 18th, 2019.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Second.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Ms. Surton. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Rella, action item 2.
Thank you, Chairman Hyatt. This action item marks the official ending closure of the 2018-19 fiscal year. Obviously, in finance, this is a big deal, and I did want to take a moment to appreciate my folks who work really, really hard to get this stuff done. It's not always flashy work, but it is very important for the districts. I would like to thank Brandon Esposito, Talia Ford, Sonia Barnes, and Thomas Kaufman, and of course, Mr. Hackett for his leadership that's allowed us to complete this stuff on time every year. The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the 2018-19 general purpose financial statements and related cost report for submission to the Department of Education.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Roy. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Rella.
Thank you, Chairman. The reimbursement resolution simply allows the district to reimburse ourselves for project costs associated with the Metcalf Elementary, Idlewild Elementary, and Howard Bishop redevelopments, and of course at the new build in Elementary School I, out of future bond proceeds, should we get there in this fall, or I'm sorry, this spring. The superintendent recommends the school board adopt reimbursement resolution 20-05 as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second? Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Rella, item 4.
Thank you. So as we close the year, we kind of start a new one. Budget-wise, this is kind of the official kickoff is the trim calendar. The superintendent recommends the school board approve the 2020-2021 tentative trim calendar establishing a special board meeting Tuesday, July 28th at 5:30 p.m. for the public hearing and adoption of the tentative budget and millage, and Tuesday, September 15th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. for the public hearing and adoption of the final budget and millage. The school board will approve the tentative millage for advertising on Tuesday, July 21st, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Rella, item 5.
Thank you, Chairman. The renewal of the Health, Life, and Cafeteria 125 plans. This is a process we go through every year. The Insurance Committee, of course, looks at our claims trend and looks at several contracts and makes recommendations to the board. The Insurance Committee for this year is recommending a 7% increase in the health insurance premiums for the 2020 plan year, along with an increase of 3.8% in the Humana vision coverage and a couple plan design changes in the district's life insurance offerings. The superintendent recommends the school board approve the contracts for Health, Life, and 125 plans as presented.
Motion to approve.
And second.
Motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Roy, and I see Dr. Paulson has his line
I'd
up.
like to compliment the insurance committee over the last 11 years or so. We look at 7% here. Some districts would die for that. We are upset about that. And it's, if you go back, they make subtle changes, they've never been greedy. They try to keep things where people can have, there's two plans they have, one where they can have a plan with a lower deductible, and they have another plan that's slightly higher, but not like other districts that are out of sight. And on that, that's where they can accumulate money so it would help them in their family plans. What I'm saying is if you go back and look at even a 10% increase or so, which some districts would die for that too, we've saved millions. And those millions of dollars can be spent in our budget. And that's what we should do as board members, is look how we can supply money instead of asking for money all the time. So thank you, Mr. Rella.
And Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Rella, I have a question for you. Looking at the Humana Vision 3.8%, did you have, or your committee, or I don't know how you all do that, but did you look at other agencies other than this particular one?
Absolutely. So what we do as a committee, we have a consultant that will take periodically as these contracts terminate or are near their end stage. We'll have the Bailey Group goes and puts out an RFP and has multiple companies respond to them, and then we kind of look at the different plan offerings, adjustments that could be recommended, and then ultimately select the vendor that fits our district best in terms of the coverage.
All right, thank you.
Superintendent Clark, do you have your light on?
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
That's left over.
I just wanted to mention, when I talk to my friends in the business world or some other folks in other school districts, the fact that we provide insurance for all of our half-time and more employees, people say that's just not done. And we do that here, and we're proud to do it. And that's something I'd like to take any credit I could, but you know what? This was happening a long time before I got on the board. And so as Dr. Paulson said, I appreciate the insurance committee over the past decade plus, and that's employees and administrators and working together to do what's best for for everybody that works for Alachua County School District. So thanks to all of those folks. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. White.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a bid award for Hawthorne Middle High School HVAC replacement for Building 1 and Building 2. The superintendent recommends that the school board accept the low base bid of $539,415 and the additive alternate 1 in the amount of $89,672 and award the contract for construction totaling $629,087 to BBI Construction Manager, Gainesville, Florida.
Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second? Second. Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Ms. Surton. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. White, item 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is continued progress on our facilities initiatives. Construction management servicing ranking for Idlewild Elementary School redesign, and the redevelopment and addendum number 1 for Prairie View Elementary School renovations and code upgrades. Superintendent recommends that the school board accept the following ranking: Charles Perry Partners, Inc., Gainesville, Florida, as number 1, the Scorpio Corporation, Gainesville, Florida, number 2, and so on.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion.
Second. A motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Roy. Any discussion?
Well,
Ms. Roy.
I'd just like to say I'm happy that all of the awardees are from Gainesville or close by Jonesville. Anyway, it's good to keep our profits in town.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt, board members. As you know, the Florida legislature,
The local legislative delegation has scheduled its annual legislative hearing for September 23rd, 1 p.m. at the Santa Fe College Fine Arts Center. And in preparation for that, we want to have the board approve a set of approve a legislative program to present at that event. Of course, our plan was to present this as a discussion item during the board meeting that was, of course, canceled as a result of Hurricane Dorian. So tonight, what we're asking the board to do is come up with a final legislative platform, and vote on it tonight so that we will have a final version to take to that legislative hearing on the 23rd. And I did share with all of the board members a copy of last year's legislative program, just as a starting point for discussion. So at this point, I'd be happy to take any input that the board members have on this.
I'd like to maybe have a little, offer voluntary parameters here, and 100% voluntary. And that is, when presenting to the legislative delegation, I really don't think a long list is helpful. I think it's, even though the list we had last year, I think every one of these items is absolutely spot on. I would like to see us, at the very least, not add anymore, maybe substitute, but if we could maybe trim it a little bit and say, what are our top 3 priorities? I know for me, and part of the discussion and public input tonight, whether or not it's acknowledged, it has a lot to do with House Bill 7069. And where we have the legislature taking over local control. And this happens not only to school boards, it happens to municipalities, to county governments. And, you know, I think that's a very real problem. You know, when we have these big train bills, the way it works is it'll be 80% terrible, and maybe 20% a few little cookies thrown in. And so, yeah, well, I don't want to vote against that, but, so I'm going to, I guess, be quiet right now, but I just think when we ask, it's the longer list doesn't make it better. So, okay, Dr. Paulson.
All right. Piggybacking on that, I think you can combine the 1 and 2. We still need the 2 mills. We passed the 1.5 cent sales tax. The 2 mill, when they took that away in 2008, never restored it, is the reason we needed that 1.5 cent sales tax. And but I think if we still could use that, but combine it with the required local effort. I think the required local effort is the thing that really can cause a problem in the long run. We have a legislation, we have somebody in charge of public education that wants to do away with funding schools with property taxes. And right now, our required local effort, I just happened to look back before 2008, the required local effort was 6.8 mils. And you saw it tonight where Mr. Rella gave that, where a person in the same house, including the increases to that, would be paying only $4 more taxes than they were like 12 years ago. It's, if we have another recession, which I think could happen, and we have a required local effort like we have right there, we are really in a lot of trouble. So I think that is extremely important. I've been preaching this And I don't want to be right, I want to be wrong. But I've been right on a lot of things. And this is one that really scares me. So I think that's important. If you combine them, you still got the 2 mills, or, we have our 1/2 cent sales tax. And I think, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Hyatt. I think that's very good. 70-69, I guess 70-55, both of them, But I think that, the public needs to hear us always preach about safety. That should be our number one. We don't have a safe school district, we don't have a school district.
Okay.
So to me, that's, anyway, and I think I know Mrs. Roy will jump in here in a second. I just have that feeling.
Well, thank you, Dr. Paulson. Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that whether you combine them or leave them as is, I'd like to see, and I would probably direct this to you, Mr. Chair, because you will be the one sharing with the legislative body on Monday. But I think it needs to go more in depth with, instead of just listing, actually talk about, if we only have 3, fine, but really go into depth with what you need to say to these representatives and senators up on the stage. I think that if we go with the same ones that we had last year, fine, but somewhere down the line, they're not listening to us. I don't care how many good, nice brochures we print, we still are at the same point that we set at Santa Fe last year. So I'm just hoping that as you share, you will be very direct, but I want them to even hear you enough to ask some questions because just to sit up on the stage and have us present, and then we sit down, what's that? So I'm hoping that if we do condense, that's fine with me, but I would really like to see us go into depth with what we are going to say to those folk up on stage.
Well, Dr. McNeely, Monday, I'm in very much the same position as our citizens who have 3 minutes to speak here. I have 3 minutes. And so I will do my best, but depth probably isn't going to be one of those things. I will be as clear as I can to express the board's wishes. And I think, Dr. McNeely, what I would like to do, and I'm not saying I can't do that, I'll do my best, but maybe what we could do is have that depth as a written attachment that everybody gets, so that they can, hopefully maybe read. And I do appreciate those ideas, and I'll see what I can do. Ms. Roy.
Thank you. When I read this at home again, I just know that they're not going to pay a bit of attention, just like Dr. McNeely said. They don't care. They might as well have cotton in their ears. But I think if you combine 1 and 2, the first 2, asking them to restore the 2 mil and hold the RLE constant, I'm wondering, and I don't know what other board members would think, but if we could take the 1 out by fully funding recurring cost of maintaining school safety, because they are bound after Parkland to do this anyway, and it doesn't matter whether we say it or not. They have to fully fund, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but anyway, I would not mind if we took that one out. And then the one about privatization of public education, that is critical. Halt the further privatization of public education through such means as the corporate tax voucher scholarships. and the voucher programs that are not held to the same standards as public schools. That's up to $1 billion a year spent on private schools with no accountability. That is an outrage. And I just read a newsie from our lobbyists saying that this is in great shape and they're going to go right forward with it. But they need to hear from the voters that we don't want $1 billion of state funding put to private schools with no accountability. That's a way to kill public schools. And then the last two, I wonder if they could be combined, because both deal with local control. Don't infringe on the authority of school boards to make decisions in the best interest of their communities. And, teacher evaluations, support district authority over teacher evaluations. They both deal with local control, and they're infringing on it with their train bills, as Mr. Hyatt said.
Okay, thank you.
So that would take it to either 4 or 3.
Well, what I'm hearing so far, which I think is just fine, is we're pretty much in support of everything from last year, with the possible exception of fully funding the safety requirements. I'd like to ask Mr. Rella, how close are we to fully funding, or is the state to fully funding what they require us to do? No pressure.
That's kind of a difficult question to ask. I mean, if you look at the security, they kind of want. It's tough to put a number on that. It would be in the millions. The number of unfunded or underfunded mandates are significant. That's something we could certainly work on. But in terms of having that answer for you today,
right. I would. What Ms. Roy said is we could do away with the safety, and hearing what, and when we say this is a priority, we're coming up with a list that's going to try to get somebody's attention. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. It doesn't mean that every one of these things and 2 and 3 times more than this would be important. Dr. Paulson, you'd mentioned that safety is paramount, and I think probably there's no argument here from anyone. Do you think we need to leave that, or as one of the legislative?
No, I think we need to mention it. We realize safety is paramount. You could just leave that statement.
Okay.
Because people are going to wonder, are they crazy?
Okay.
It's the most important thing we have.
I would. Okay, I'm going to try to move the big ship around here. If I would be certainly okay with keeping what we have right now, and if there's any, and if you want to leave it up to Ms. Johnson to do it, not to change any of it, but other than to put housekeeping, to put a couple of things together, that would be fine. But if I think we need a motion, certainly, Dr. Paulson.
Look, I mean, these are all important. When I said safety, that's a one sentence, boom, right?
Okay.
And then you go in, and we did get our half-cent sales tax. The 2 mil is still important.
Right.
But the half-cent sale, the required local effort, I think is the thing in the room that's going to really destroy us. So I think that's important. I think what Mr. Roy said, you can combine House Bill 7069 and what they have about the evaluations, you can say that real quick. That's 2, and then the corporate tax credit, you're at 3. You could talk about, right?
Okay.
And you still said 6, but you've focused in on 3 for what Dr. McNeely says you want to talk in depth.
Okay.
I mean, that's, to me,
I
what
like
I hear
that.
people saying.
So what we're going to need is a motion to, correct?
Could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Just so I have something more firm, because I'd need to ask Mr. Delaney about, if the board's actually voting on it tonight, can they just, how much leeway can they give me to make some of these changes, or do they
Can we
need to
wait?
approve something that's pretty much verbatim what would be in the legislative program?
Sure, I think the board can provide guidance to you about what's going to be presented. This has been publicly noticed, so we don't have a sunshine issue in terms of the public being aware of what it is that was being tackled tonight. So I think some guidance to you about what needs to be in there, with the understanding that you might have to tweak the language a little bit, would be appropriate.
I could, for example, to combine the last two, perhaps the wording could be support the authority of school boards to make decisions in the best interests of their community, including the appropriate expenditure of revenues and the evaluation of teachers.
Wonderful.
Does that
I
work
like
for
that.
everyone? Okay. And then I can combine 1 and 2. Dr. Paulson, I certainly hear what you're saying about safety, that safety is critical. I'm not sure just that statement, though, asks the legislature for
I don't think you need to ask them.
something.
I think you can just mention it, so it's there, because they're funding it. They understand that, like Mr. Hyatt said. I'm just saying, it takes 3 or 4 seconds to say it, and then you can focus in on 3 things.
How about, may I speak?
Certainly.
How about just putting fully fund the Parkland safety, Aaron, whatever the name of
Yes,
the
the
act.
Marjorie Stoneman Douglas
Yeah.
Safety Act.
Safety
Okay.
Act, fully fund, because safety in our schools is paramount, something like that.
The RLE should be paramount.
I like that, being paramount, it is.
And I'm warning you, RLE should be paramount too. I hope I'm
Would you
wrong.
like me to change the order of 1 and 2, so that when I combine them, so that RLE comes
Like I
first?
said, two we kind of, we took Keith Perry out to lunch and he told us he tried to help it, then when we saw him, he said, oh no, that's raising taxes. That's not gonna happen, at least we've addressed it with the 1.5 cent sales tax. But the RLE is the thing that can take us down. And that's what they want. You say, well, it's not worth it, well, until they bury you, you can still be yelling at them.
Okay, I'm going to come back, and we can certainly continue a discussion, but I'm asking if we could have a board member craft a motion as to how we're going to approach this.
I make a motion that we just mention, if we use it with the Parkland, just so people realize we do know what's best. And then I think if even and I'm the one who's been preaching the 2 mills since 2012, but right now, I think the RLE is important, we should have something about that, that'd be 1. I think the, what do you call it? The tax privatization of public education, 2. And then where local control is 3. And you can word it, because you word much better than I do.
We could actually, for the 2 mills, since we refer to later on, support the authority of school boards to make decisions in the best interest of their community, including the appropriate expenditure of revenues and the evaluation of teachers, since we use the we could take out actually that second line,
Okay.
or that second.
We're parliamentary-wise, we're running a little
sorry.
off the rails. We need some clarity on, and help me out here, Counselor.
Perhaps the most efficient approach would be for Ms. Johnson to craft something based on what you've heard from the board. You could articulate that for us. We might have a board member say, that's my motion. See if we get a second, approach it that way. Do you feel like you've got enough guidance to go that route?
No sweat.
Think so. Let me take a stab at it.
So we could make the first bullet, hold the current required local effort constant in order to allow school funding to benefit from increasing property values rather than imposing the rollback rate, and restore the authority of elected school boards to levy by a simple majority up to 2.0 mils for capital purposes. So that would be the first. The second, fully fund the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act because safety in schools is paramount.
Beautiful.
Maintain the third one as it is on privatization of public education, and make the last one, support the authority of school boards to make decisions in the best interests of their communities, including the appropriate expenditures of revenues and the evaluation of teachers.
Yes.
That's my motion.
And,
Just that.
Superintendent recommends.
no, well, okay,
I make a motion also.
okay, so I guess we didn't quite get to the culmination of the other motion. So we have a motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson, to accept or to use the masterful wording by Ms. Johnson. And discussion, please, Dr. Paulson.
This is, I don't want you to change it at all. Just everybody needs to realize they have gone below the rollback twice in the last 4 years. I mean, it's gone past that. That's how dangerous these people are.
Any further discussion? I would like to, I'd like to thank my colleagues on the dais, because this is a heavy lift when we were going to have this discussion 2 weeks ago. And I really appreciate the input and moving forward to get this done, because we have to get it done for Monday. So thanks so much. Any further comment? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Ms. Johnson. At this time, we have another opportunity for citizens to address the board. It's requested that citizens keep their comments to approximately 3 minutes. I do not have any sheets here, but I'll look around and see if anybody's moving toward the rostrum. Seeing none, we have board member superintendent request. Dr. Paulson. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had it on.
No, I just haven't, we listen to a lot of people speak tonight, and I think that the information comes out, the state has told us what we have to do. Many of you think as a football coach, I have a doctorate too, so I do have some education. But one thing I always encouraged with my staff is I didn't want them just to listen to me and I talk all the time. And I'm the only one that knows. That we get more out of discussions. What I have not seen is, I haven't seen discussions and people giving solutions. If we could get together and people listen, we actually know something too as board members. Oh, we can sigh, that's right. Well, we do. We should have discussions. And we should respect your discussion, your ideas, we should respect ours. And if we could come to that, and we're not at that point right now. And I said, should I say this tonight? Yeah, I should. We get in there and you get in, and I think the people have a lot of information not correct. We'll be glad to get that out. But you know something? You, as a community member, might be wrong sometime, just like us as board members might be wrong. That's amazing, isn't it? Have you ever thought about that? Well, you ought to think about it. Because when I get up here and I sit here and I listen, I get the feeling a lot of people don't think they're ever wrong. I'm wrong a lot of times. So, I thought about, should I say it? Yeah, I think it's about time we said something like that. I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. McNeely.
Mr. Chair, we have not had a student representative on this board. In fact, the spot is even gone. We agreed that we would have a student representative on this board. It would be rotated between high schools, and I'm not sure who dropped the ball, if it was the high school or if it was us. But if it's us, we need to figure out and find out who will be sitting between Ms. Ramos and Mrs. Jones. We voted on that, we agreed with that, and no one's there. So I think we need to go back, look at what we stated, find the best person. I don't know which high school was supposed to be next. I don't even know what happened with the transition. But what I do know, we are not upholding what we stated that we wanted with having a student representative on this board.
Thank you, Dr. Benelli. Superintendent Clark, is that something maybe that maybe Deputy Superintendent?
Right, the curriculum division had established, working with high school principals, actually our first representative, to develop kind of a rotation and order of the high schools. I know we had a young lady from Eastside last year, and her attendance, I think some of her after-school job responsibilities got in the way, it seemed, after that. So I'm not sure where we are in the rotation, but we can certainly get that figured out pretty quickly.
Okay, and I would agree with Dr. McNeely that we had decided we were going to do that, so let's do it. Anything else, Dr. McNeely?
No, I'm done.
Thank you. Ms. Sorg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank the members of the public that came to express their support and to give feedback to the board. I appreciate it, right, wrong, or indifferent. I think it's kind of hard to have a discussion in 3 minutes, so I guess you all will have to probably be having a discussion by making an appointment with each of us. Is that the way?
I've tried, but then they say we didn't have any meetings.
I have, Ms. Sorg, I have some appointments already set up with individual citizens, and I'm certainly available to talk with folks, and I think all of us are. And I think that could go through Ms. Ramos.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to express to the public so they would know, because most folks think they come, and if you see how the other two boards operate in the city and, the county and the city, they have some kind of, interaction. So folks need to know if it was thrown out, how they can communicate with us and how the discussion is to be had, because you can't have a discussion and have any meaningful discussion in 3 minutes. As you just said that when you go to the legislative meeting on Monday, you have 3 minutes. So you're being held to the same standard that you're holding the citizens to here. So it's kind of like we got to eat the crow that we're feeding the people out here. So
I'm fine.
that was the first thing. The second thing that I'd like to request, and we move forward with, the discussion on impact fees that came up in the joint meeting that we had with the county commission last week. That was something that it seems there was some, I don't know how much agreement, but I asked that come, and we have a workshop on that, and we agenda that. So I'd like for that to be on an agenda item, or to be workshopped as well as an agenda item for us to discuss and vote on in the future. And lastly, I would like to suggest that us as a board kind of join forces with what the Alachua County Commission has started to do, embark upon the Truth and Reconciliation concept. As you all know, the Equal Justice Institute up in Alabama has the slab or the monument for the lynching. And they've encouraged each community to do a Truth and Reconciliation project to be able to claim that monument to bring back home. And I'm suggesting that because there's a lot of distrust in this community of this body that I'm part of. There have been a lot of things, there's a lot of history and things that have just been ignored over the years. And if we continue to try to step over that, we'll never mend that. You want to reach out, and we want to work with the community. so that we can have good outcomes for those students, because I've told Superintendent Clark, just like point blank, those students out there and those parents, they're part of the district, and they feel like they're being overlooked and that they get the short end of the stick. And perception is most people's reality. So if we don't address some things and do things differently, that's not going to change. And so we're talking about the privatization of schools and charters. If people are happy with their current and their zone school, they're not going to look for any place else to go. And as I told the retired educators yesterday, it's our house that's on fire. If we want to protect public education, I believe in public education. I'm a product of public education. My children went to public education, my husband, and I would like to preserve that. But we got to realize that there are some things in the system that hasn't always been right. And I've said that I expect the system to serve me that wasn't created for me. And I say me, I'm being a person of color. So I'm actually imploring my fellow colleagues up here that we all would embrace that, and that we would actually embark upon that. And maybe that will create some goodwill so that we can go forward and we can create some good outcomes in schools that are majority people of color and low income, high need schools, children that live in poverty. They can learn. The old schools before integration, they did stellar work with few resources, as you all recall when I first came on board. So I think we can go back to that, but we have got to kind of make amends with the community, with the people that we serve. They pay taxes, and it may not be to the level that the folks in certain areas pay, but they contribute to the system, and they don't deserve to be overlooked. And if we keep overlooking them, people like Richard Cochran and his crew up there are going to take the system. They're going to take our school system, because that's part of the reason why we have what we have going on here, the privatization, is because of low performing and people kind of wanting it out for something. So if we don't change and do something different, this is my opinion, I think we will lose our system, and we don't want that to happen. We want to maintain public education for, I don't have grandkids, but our grandkids and future generations. We want to maintain it so we can provide a high-quality education to every single student, and that their zip code should not determine their student outcomes. And that's what we have right now. You know, we have to, to be honest, we need to be honest. You can't fix a problem if you don't acknowledge it and face it. So those are my two requests, that we would get a date for the impact fees workshop and agenda, or if we put it on the agenda, we go ahead and vote it up or down, how we want to proceed with that, and that we embark upon the Truth and Reconciliation Project.
Ms. Surgeon, what I will do is talk to the superintendent, and we will, if when we workshop this, it has to be thorough, and I don't know I don't think it's going to be an inordinate amount of time, but I want to make sure that staff has time to get us all the information we need. But we'll get together and propose a date for that. Okay, Ms. Roy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hyatt. I don't disagree with what Ms. Certain said, but I would like to just express an opinion on the private school issue. You said, Ms. Certain, that people wouldn't seek the private schools if they were satisfied with the public. I think that some people want to go to private schools because they don't have any accountability, no testing. You know, if your child doesn't score well on a test, best thing to do is get a voucher and go to a private school. I mean, that's one big reason. And I don't think that's the reason the legislature has implemented this privatization scheme. It's an article of faith among some people up there that anything private prisons, private schools, private everything is better than public. And it's just an antagonism towards government that has got this movement started. But I don't disagree with everything that you said, just to respond. Thank you.
Dr. McNeely.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to say to my colleague, Mrs. Certain, and Attorney Delaney, if I'm out of order, stop me if you need. But I just wanted to say I agree with you totally. You said it eloquently enough, and I'm hoping that not only the citizens in this room, but the citizens who are viewing this meeting that's televised or if you're going to watch it tomorrow on the video, that we can come to common ground. It's no doubt about it. We have to do that. I'm getting too many feelings all throughout this community. And I'd like to say, not just from people of color, but other people who really, they don't look like me, but people are coming, approaching me every kind of place, not just the grocery store, not just where I have to go pay my taxes, but many places. And so until we come together, we are going to look like this past November, past 2020, past whatever. We must come to the forefront, acknowledge every single thing. That's not only how we govern, how we teach, how the children learn, how the parents need to come back in and be more engaged. And we are just going to have to do a superior job, just like the rankings that happened for Newberry High on the band field when they went to state or regional, the same way that we must operate as well. And then the second thing I wanted to say, we have a joint meeting on November the 6th with the city. I would like to have, if possible, some type of workshop for us, if that's allowed. I don't know, Attorney Delaney, so that we are cognizant of what's going to be exposed on that day, if that's possible, so that we don't come in cold and it's not going to be any votes anyway, but I'd like to know beforehand through a workshop with us, kind of like, what do we want? What are we going to be saying at this joint city commission meeting that we will have on November 6th?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Benneely. Dr. Paulson.
I'm not going to pontificate, I'm just going to say two things. First of all, privatization, follow the money. If you think it's for all these other reasons, it's because it's money. This is big business, and that's what, they want the money. Two, I haven't heard this at all, and then we can disagree or something, but I've been in this business 50 years. Everything we do should be for kids, all our kids. Maybe we should say that more often.
Thank you. Mr. Delaney, do you have
Address Dr. McNeely's question, if that's appropriate, or
Sure.
Dr. McNeely, we can talk after the meeting, but if I may, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Sure, it's completely appropriate for us to workshop priorities that this board has going into that joint meeting, so.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay, I have closed things up here. I had a couple of things, and this is, want staff to understand, this is not something I want done by Monday. This is something to think about over the next few months. And I had a lunch before school year started with one of our local band directors, and the executive secretary of the Florida Bandmasters Association happened to be in town. So we were having lunch and solving the problems of the world, and we were talking about a 7-period day. And what I'd like to explore, and I'll certainly do some work on this as well, is there are districts that are using what's called a 6+, and I'd like to look at this for middle school. You know, maybe even a pilot program, but if we could do middle school, that would be great. And the way this works is you have 7 classes, and they meet. So well, no, what happens is every 7th day they don't meet. So you can have 6 periods a day, et cetera. I don't need to go into the minutiae, but but the idea this would be less of a financial investment, but also it's going to open up a couple of things. It will help kids be able to participate in the arts, and it's going to open the arts for kids that are now in remediation. So if you have to be in remediation, so you can't take band, you can't take chorus, you can't take visual arts. And in addition to that, it's going to give more time in the schedule to help kids catch up. So whether or not this is going to be able to happen, I don't know, but it's being done at a few other places. And rather than, jump in and say, hey, we're going to do all this, I don't want to get Mr. Rowland nervous over here. But I think it's something, let's find out how other districts do it, how they make it work money-wise, and it may or may not work for us, but we can look into it. And then I just wanted to, that was really what I was going to say, but I had requested earlier in the day, the superintendent to send to all board members the list of what the district has done this past year, what they're doing now for schools with differentiated accountability. And I'm not going to read this entire thing because I want somebody to still like me, but it would be too long. But I do want to say I'm certainly would be happy to share this with media, with any citizen. So if you would like a copy of this, if you will email me or email board members, I will send you the attachment because it's not, the idea that this district and our superintendent and our district staff doesn't come to work every day trying to do what's best for all kids. I think that's just it's certainly okay to disagree, but I don't think it tells the whole story. So I'm going to read one paragraph here, and that's all, I promise. With these supports in place, 5 of the 6 2018-19 DA schools, that's differentiated accountability schools, increased their state school accountability scores in 2019. 4 DA schools, Alachua, Metcalf, Rawlings, and Terwilliger, earned higher grades, with Metcalf increasing by 2 grades, a D to a B. Idlewild received a D grade, but was 14 points from earning a C, so their data went up. So saying that in no way means that it can be anything other than all hands on deck for Lake Forest. It's got to be all hands on deck. But there is an intent and for this by the people in this district, by the superintendent, and I'm sure there's an intent by all board members to do what's best for all children. So it's not, I just needed to get that out there. So if like I said, if any media members, any members of the public would like this information, please email me and I will, or you could email Ms. Ramos, either one, and we will make sure you get it. So that was all I wanted to say, and you're done, right?
I'm done.
Yeah, okay. This meeting, thank you very much all for all the input. We are adjourned.